Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Gaurachandraya. Hare Krishna. So those of you who were there last week, how many of you were there last week? Okay, so for them, welcome back. For those who were not there last week, welcome. So today we'll continue from, who remembers which shloka? Anyone remember which shloka we studied last week? Last? रात गई बात गई हैं. We went a little beyond 21. That's why I wanted to. We practically covered till 25 because all those shlokas are almost connected. Okay. First lesson. Please put your mobiles on vibrator mode. That's the first part of today's class. Okay. We discussed about Nainam Chindandi Shastrani. Who remembers? The soul cannot be cut, soul cannot be burnt. Bola da? Last week, who remembers? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask any question. Who remembers? Anyways. Now it's time to get serious. 3 weeks of classes have gone, that's fine. Now we're getting into the in-depth study of Gita. Please take this seriously. Prabhuji, do we have the list of all the people who are present today? Who has registered?
We have a list of registered persons. However, there are some new people. How many of you haven't registered yet? Can you please raise your hand?
Yes, so somebody will come to you, they'll register you now. There's no point sitting there. Just
there is a registration.
Go and get them registered. Don't go wait for them to come registered. Just go and get them registered. Take the details and then you do it. Otherwise, after the class, it's fine. Just as the class is getting over.
And also, who doesn't have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, we have available there. You can take it from there.
I think you must all have your own copy of Gita. You should have. So if you don't have, please pick it up from here. I would like you to invest in a Gita. So please do that. So we have a WhatsApp group. I don't know how active that is. Is it the same group? Okay. So then we'll keep. I just want to activate all of you a little bit more. आप लोग हफ्ते में एक दिन प्रकट होते हो फिर भूल जाते हो. There has to be a little bit more action on that group. So. Sunday fee structure, you're in charge or who's in charge?
This Sunday we have a Kirtan meeting.
No, who's in charge? Sunday fee you're in charge. So you think it's a good idea to make this guy accountable for Saturday? Let him do all the work. Huh? So you can announce that. Okay, you tell him. If you are comfortable, you tell him.
Uh-huh.
So we'll give him responsibility and we'll see. It's just too lazy. Okay, you have your Gita copies? You got your copies now? Verse 23 to 25, I will just read the shloka. You can read along, don't have to chant loudly. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kletayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha, achedyoyam adakyoyam akledyo shosha evacha, nitya sarvagatasthadur achaloyam sanatanaha, avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate, tasmadevam viditvainam nanashochitum arhasi. All of you don't have to memorize the shlokas or chant them like this. Which is that when you gradually start reading the Gita, you will pick up how to chant the verses. So it's not important to be great Gita scholars. It's more important to live the Gita. So we'll start with that. Okay, now these are the qualities or the characteristics of the eternal soul. Krishna talks about that in the second chapter. So one of them is that it cannot be cut by weapons. The soul cannot be cut by weapons. So why is Krishna saying this? Any idea? What does Krishna have to say? Soul cannot be cut, soul cannot be burned, soul cannot be dissolved. Why does Krishna have to say this? Please use your intelligence. Yes, Mataji. So why is Krishna telling Arjuna it cannot be cut, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be dissolved? That is the question. क्यों बोल रहे हैं? That is my question. Please tell me why. Why is he using this point? That is my question. Yeah, you may think you are killing Bhishma and Drona and all these people, but they are actually not killed because they are souls and they cannot be cut or dissolved or burnt or anything. And Prabhupada also says that those days weapons were not just based on fire. There were weapons based on water, weapons based on air, etc., etc. So you see, battlefield, they will be constantly chanting mantras. When they are shooting arrows, they will be chanting mantras. So then he says, cannot be burnt by fire, cannot be moistened by water, cannot be withered by wind. So all these are weapons. Wind weapon, air weapon, water weapon, fire weapon. They cannot damage the soul. They may kill the body but not the soul. Then it says, Achedyoyam adakyoyam. It is unbreakable and it cannot be burnt also. It is unbreakable and it cannot be burnt. Akledyo shosha evacha. It is insoluble and it cannot be dried. These are the characteristics of the soul. Then he says, Nitya sarvagata sthanur. It is everlasting. It exists everywhere. Sarvagataha. What does it mean? I told you last week. What does Krishna mean when he says the soul is existing everywhere? What does it mean? Yaad kariye, and remember. No. Everywhere is different from all there. Can you reduce the echo? It's too dramatic. Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? It's an echo. Why? Why is Krishna saying the soul exists everywhere? Yes. Then what is the soul doing there in the body? If it's a part of Krishna. So are we Krishna?
Every soul is thinking.
Correct. So how can you say that sarvagataha, that the soul exists everywhere? What do you mean by that? It means that souls can be found everywhere, even in fire, water, anywhere. There are fire eating bacteria also. They exist in fire. Prabhupada talks about that. There are living entities present everywhere. So that's what we have to understand. And then he says, avyaktoyam achintyoyam. You cannot perceive the soul, and it is inconceivable. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam. And then he says what? Avikaryoyam, means the soul cannot undergo changes. The soul will not undergo changes. Previously, Krishna mentioned that Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. The embodied soul passes from childhood to youth to old age. And quite similarly, at the end of the body, he will pass on to a different body. He says that about the soul. But now he is saying that it is not going to undergo any change. It is immutable. So why does he say that? The soul goes from childhood to youth to old age and also passes on to the next body. But he says the soul does not change. It does not undergo any change. Why?
Because it's eternal. It's eternal and part.
No, the point is that it is a body that undergoes the change. The soul per se doesn't undergo the change. It may go from childhood to youth to old age. The body is the one that changes. So he says further, later on he says, Antavanta ime deha nitya shokta shariradaha. The body will perish, but the soul shall not perish. Now, Krishna has so far presented his own opinion. He has presented his own opinion. This is the way it is. Somebody may say that this is just one view of things. There may be something else. So there it's mentioned that he also gave some scriptural conclusions why one should not lament for the soul. Right? He gives some scriptural explanations. Now he says, this is completely material vision. Completely material vision. We cannot, all of us have followed this philosophy at some point of time or the other. What is Krishna saying? Very important, 26th verse. In the 26th verse, I will read the shloka. You don't need to read the shloka also, really. I will ask you to read somewhere from the purport. Atachena nityajatam nityam va manyasya amritam tathapitam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. Somebody can read the translation to verse number 26.
If, however, you think that the soul is perpetually born and
You should read what is written in the bracket also.
It's not written in this. Maybe I take it. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm.
So, if you think that the soul is eternal and the body will perish, no need to cry over the body because the soul is eternal. Now, but if you instead think the soul will be always be born and will keep dying forever, then also there's nothing to worry. Because it's going to happen, it's inevitable. So read the purport. Somebody else can read the purport. Purport, read. Who can read? Somebody else says it. You already read it. You want everyone to get involved. Don't look to your neighbor, read. Read meaning don't read. Read loud. Read aloud. One person can read. Maybe if you read only if you get a mic, you think. That is the secret. People will read only if they get a mic.
Prabhu, there is always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhists, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the
Lokayatikas
and
Vaibhashikas.
Such philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage the life symptoms developed by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on the philosophy. Currently, many pseudo religions now becoming fashionable in America are also adhering to this philosophy, as are the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects.
So what Prabhupada is saying is that suppose you think that the soul is not eternal. At a certain point of time the chemicals come together, they form life. After some time life gets over, and again they get together, they form life. So is there any problem for me to kill you if I am also chemical, you are also chemical? What's the big deal? What stops people from breaking social norms? If I am also chemical and you are also chemical, what difference does it make? Why the need for morality? Why the need for legal codes? So Krishna is breaking every defense of Arjuna. If you think the soul is eternal, you don't need to cry. If you think the soul keeps coming and going because of a combination of chemicals, then also you don't need to cry over a bunch of chemicals. Kai ko ro rahe ho? He is breaking every single excuse that Arjuna has. Now let's go to verse 27. ये बहुत misused verse है. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर, बोलिए, ध्रुवम जन्म मृतस्य च. Don't speak on the mic. You don't need to speak on the mic. तस्माद् अपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. Somebody else can read the translation.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death.
You're not speaking in the mic, I think. You're not speaking in the mic.
And after death, one is sure to take.
Now you are speaking on the mic.
So one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not neglect.
Okay. Will you give the mic to the Matajis or it will be circulating only among the Prabhus? You have something there also. Mataji other than your wife also. Give it to somebody else. Read. You don't know which sloka? Verse 27. What did you repeat? Read the translation to verse 27.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after that, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, not neglect.
So somebody can read the purport little bit.
One has to take birth according to one's activities of life, and after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or envy at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong action.
See, that's the point. Arjuna had one of the excuses we talked about was that Arjuna thinks that if he were to kill his relatives, there will be sinful reaction. Instead, what is being mentioned here? Why do you incur sin? You incur sin if you commit any wrong action. But being a Kshatriya and not fighting is the wrong action. Not that he fights and kills people. That is not the wrong action for a Kshatriya. Now, we cannot compare it to the modern battles that happen. Because Kalo Shudra Sambhava. Kaliyuga, everybody is Shudra. There are no Kshatriya. So, it is by the will of the Supreme that this battle was fought. And this is for establishing justice and truth. And there, if Arjuna as a Kshatriya does not fight, then he will be defaulting in his duty. So, take this further, the philosophy. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Somebody can read the translation?
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their initial state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what means their limitation?
So this is another angle. All the living beings were initially not manifest. Prakat roop mein nahi the, they were not appearing. After some time they appeared, and after some time they disappeared. So what are you crying for? Krishna smashing every logic. If the soul is eternal and the body is temporary, what is the need to cry? If you think the soul and body are both temporary, what is the need to cry? If you think that for some point of time we are not there, then we come into existence and then we again disappear, then also what is the need to cry? So you read the translation. Somebody, read. Speak into the mic. Speak into the mic. Your voice is not very easy. Something wrong with the mic or what? I think it's not. Speak into it. Keep it. Speak into it now. You're not. That is the mic. Read again.
Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and other not believing in the existence of the soul. There is no cause for lamentation in the case.
You see, that's the point. Arjuna is crying and saying, I will not fight. Krishna is saying, whether you believe in the soul or don't believe in the soul, so there is no point in crying. Continue.
Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if for argument's sake you accept this separate theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From the substance state of non-manifestation comes manifestation. Just as
air, fire is generated. From fire, water is generated, and from water, earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestations take place. Take for example, the big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested, and remains at echoes in the ultimate state. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time, things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what cause is the collaboration? Is it in the state of manifestation or in unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in unmanifested, but in unmanifested state, things are not lost, both at the beginning and at the end. All elements remain unmanifested, and only in the middle are they unmanifested. And this does not make it really negligible.
Thank you. So does it make a difference that before Bhishma and Drona were in that form, they were an unmanifest form. Then they become Bhishma and Drona. Again they will become unmanifest. So what's the problem if we kill them? Logical, na? Even assume that there are no soul. So then, having established this, Krishna talks about this shloka, the next shloka. This verse is called the amazing verse. In this verse, Krishna talks about how amazing is the soul. Ascharyavat. Ascharyavat paschati kashidenam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya ascharyavat jai chainam anya shrunoti srutva penam vedana jaiva kaschit. Somebody can read the translation. You will have to, some keep the mic really far from the mouth, some keep it reasonably close to the mouth, then it can be heard. Do it now. Closer to the mouth, like this.
Some know of the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
See, it's pretty interesting. Now I will tell you something very complicated. Hear this. So, okay, so the word Ascharyavat or amazing can be used for the noun, the verb and the adverb. How does that happen? Some people look amazingly at the soul. Ascharyavat pashyati. Some people look amazingly at the soul. Some people look at the amazing soul. Some amazing people look at the soul. Similarly, some amazing people hear about the soul. Some people hear amazingly about the soul. And some people hear about the amazing soul. Like this. Acharya has mentioned it like this. So whichever way you look at it, it is Ascharyavat. This is called the amazing verse in Bhagavad Gita, 2.29. Amazing verse. So much Ascharyavat, everything is Ascharyavat. So here, let us see that, read this paragraph. You can read Pitambar Prabhu. Some people, starting there. Our Pitambardhar Prabhu is a PhD and he is a professor of law at, what's your college called? Amity? No. GD Goenka. He is a professor of law at GD Goenka College. He is a PhD. He is also a practicing devotee. And his wife is a PhD in English. And their son is not a PhD because he is only 2 years old. Speak. Read the purport, the second paragraph. Some people who are inclined.
Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures into this association, but sometimes, into ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of the super soul, and the ultimate soul has come without distinction of man.
Point to be taken. It is very, very common for us to misunderstand that the soul and the super soul are one. सब एक हैं, सब एक नहीं है. Explain.
It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul, the ultimate soul, their respective functions and relationships, and all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from the knowledge of the soul, and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful.
Now, somehow or the other, one tries to understand the subject matter of the soul, one's life is successful. Go ahead.
The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the religious authority of Krishna without it creating by other theories. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, and other despite all the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the devotee and by no other reason.
So, by the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord, one can understand that Krishna is God. And when you understand Krishna is God and study the Gita and follow the Gita and live the Gita and give the Gita, then you can be really successful. That's the point. Now let's come to the next verse. Krishna further reinforces this 30th verse. It concludes the verses that talk about jnana, which means knowledge, the knowledge of the soul. Where does it start? Then from verse 13, starting 13. Yeah. Effectively starting verse number 13 onwards till 30 is the signs of the soul. Let's see. I think so. From 11 to 30. From verse number 11 to 30 is Sankhya, or the signs of the soul. So now with this 30th verse, Krishna gives a summary. Krishna is an amazing communicator. He concludes the whole explanation with a summary verse. What is that verse? Dehi nityam avadhyoyam. Okay, let me keep it simple. Maybe this meter is difficult to follow. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam. Dehe sarvasya bharata. Tasmat sarvani bhutani. Natvam shochitum arhasi. Somebody else can read the translation. Some other Prabhu. Give it to him. You don't have Gita? Give him the Gita, make him read the translation. You can give him the mic.
O descendant of Bhagavad, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any evil.
Yeah, you can read the purport also. Continue.
The Lord now concludes the chapter of instructions on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear and his grandfather and teacher.
That is grandfather and teacher.
Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. Not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living sometimes develop at a certain stage of maturity, resulting from the interaction of chemicals.
Just see, one sec. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath ki. Why do we think that there is no soul? Because scientist after scientist, teacher after teacher in our school has said that it cannot be medically proved that there is a soul. We have not seen it, so we don't believe it. But tell me, are there things that we cannot see that exist? Yes or no? Yes. Are there things that we can see which actually don't exist? So what use is your pair of eyes that you should believe them? Whether you can see the soul or not doesn't mean that the soul doesn't exist. Tomorrow you will say that there is nobody called Narendra Modi. It doesn't make a difference to Narendra Modi. Okay, let's come closer. Who is it? Jagdish Khattar, here, Gurgaon. Suppose Khattar Sahib doesn't exist. It doesn't make a difference to him. So the fact is that currently our consciousness and intellect are not evolved to the extent that we can understand and appreciate the existence of the soul and the super soul. But by following the spiritual process in the association of devotees and following the instructions of Krishna, we will be able to eventually understand the existence of the soul, the relationship of the soul with the Supreme Lord. So the point to understand is that for us, it is not seeing is believing. Our philosophy is not seeing is believing. What is our philosophy? Our philosophy is we believe based on authority so that one day we become qualified to see. Just like the mother tells you it is a father, the child accepts. The child doesn't go through DNA mapping and fingerprint mapping to check who is a father. It does not go through chromosome test. It believes the father is the person pointed to by the mother. Similarly, Shastra is mother. Krishna or God is father. Shastra is saying that he is God and he is saying that the soul exists. So तुम्हारी औकात क्या है that you can object to it? As simple as that. So if you want to study the Gita, like we said in the beginning, at least there should be a theoretical understanding that Krishna is God. Otherwise don't study the Gita. He is some Dwaraka king, some historical personality. Doesn't make sense. Then it's fiction. So on his authority we believe that the soul exists. We know that the soul moves from childhood to youth to old age. But nobody has seen the soul go from one body to another. So how do we accept it? How? How? I just told you. Believing who? Authority of Krishna, Sri Chaitanya. People who are far more advanced than us have concluded this. So why are we wasting our time trying to do research? It's already searched and kept. No need for research. It's all there. Now we go to Krishna tells Arjuna that considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. Dharmadhi yuddha shreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. One who fights for religious duty is a Kshatriya. Otherwise he is not a Kshatriya. He is a Kshatriya in name only. He is called a Kshatra Bandhu. He is a family of a Kshatriya but not a Kshatriya. Then Krishna goes on to say, Now, Arjuna's one of the excuses for not fighting was that we will not be able to show our kingdom to our family after we win because they will all be dead. So it's enjoyment. So look what Krishna is telling. Who can read the translation? Somebody else can read. Yeah. 32 translation.
O Master, as we are the Kshatriyas who do such fighting opportunities from unfold, opening for them the doors that the community has.
So Arjuna is saying, I don't find anything happy about it. It will take me to hell, Arjuna is saying earlier. So here Krishna is saying, read that, give him the Gita again. Prabhu, give him that Gita again. There is one shloka, Kshatriyo hi praja rakshan, shastrapani pradandayan, nirjitya parasainyadi, shitim dharmena palayet. Read the translation.
The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for wrong and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of indifferent kings and thus with religious principles. He should rule over them.
That is the duty of a Kshatriya. It is not like, no, I am a simple person, I will not rule the world. No, a Kshatriya has to rule. Just like a Brahmana has to preach. A Brahmana has to give the message of God. It's my service to study scripture and to teach scripture. If I am a Brahmana, if I am a Kshatriya, it is my duty to fight, to establish the principles of religion. If I am a Vaishya, my duty is to engage in Krishi, Go, Raksha, Vanijyam. And if I am a Shudra, I have to serve all the other Varnas. So if you are working for a corporate or an MNC, it's a Fortune 500 company also, you are a SUDRA. And even I was. So Shudra means one who labors or works for somebody else. But it is okay to work for somebody else if you know the purpose of life. If you know why you are earning, how to use that money, how to use your time, how to use your talent, then it is okay to be a Shudra. Like a Brahmana in our society, a Brahmana goes to the altar also, a Brahmana takes care of security of the temple also, a Brahmana takes care of legal aspects of the temple also, a Brahmana raises funds also, a Brahmana cleans the toilets also. So it is Daivi Varnashram. Brahmana means one who knows the purpose of life. Brahmot Janeti the Brahmana. So whatever he does, he will do it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. That's the purpose. Brahmana is not by birth. So that we have to understand. Now, similarly, Kshatriya is only in name a Kshatriya if he doesn't fight or do his duty. So let's see. Go to the next translation, 33. Somebody can read the somebody else can read the translation, 33.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duty and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Yeah, Arjuna's one name is Vijaya. You know why he's called Vijaya? You know? Sorry? Yeah, he's never tasted defeat. Even with Lord Shiva, he did not lose the battle. Lord Shiva appreciated his valor. It was like a draw. And he had already defeated the Kauravas. In Virata Parva it's shown. He defeated Bhishma, Drona, Karna, everybody was defeated. So now Krishna is telling him that you will lose your reputation as a good fighter. Hitva papam avyapsasi, swadharmam kirticha hitva. Because you neglected your duties, all your fame will disappear. So it is not like people will glorify him. Or Arjun kitna badhiya aadmi hai. He didn't kill his family. Say nice girl. So sweet. So sweet is nahi. He's an irresponsible person who has neglected his duties. Look at him. What kind of Kshatriya is he? That's what it is called. Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. Akirtikaram. People will blame Arjuna. He will get infamy. Look at this person. What kind of person is he? He's running away from his duty. So go to 34. Somebody else can read the translation. Okay, by the way, I am making you read only parts of it. To study the Gita, we can have a detailed course later. At some point of time, we can register everyone and do a 6-month course on the Gita. That's separate. But right now, this is just to give you a flavor. I am spending more time on chapter 2 and chapter 18, which are really big. Other chapters we'll zip through. 1 class or 2 classes we can complete. Yeah, go ahead.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death.
What does it say? For one, oh, that's an old translation. What does yours say?
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse.
And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. That's the older version. Let's say 73 Gita. Okay. So now. So it goes on. That he keeps saying over the next 2-3 verses that everybody will make fun of you. That you're not a good general. All that. So read verse 37. Hato va prapsyasi swargam. Hato va prapsyasi swargam. Jitva va bhokshyase mahim. Tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. Somebody can read the translation. Somebody who's not read. Read. Translation 37. If you get killed, you'll go to the heavenly planets. If you don't get killed and win the battle, you will get great kingdom rule. Atova prapsyasi swargam. If you die, jitva va bhokshase mahim. Mahim means what? What is the meaning given here? The world. If you win, you will be able to rule the world. If you die, then you will go to the heavenly planets. Veera Swarga, it is called. So there's nothing to lose. Heads I win, tails you lose. Like that. No way. It's a win-win. Verse 38 is a very, very important verse. So repeat after me. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yudhyasva Naivam papamavapsyasi. Someone can read the translation.
You don't fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin.
You can give her the mic. Read the purport.
Because we desire the better. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense of gratification,
Sense gratification, not.
either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor he debtor to anyone, as one in the ordinary course of activities, it is said.
This is okay. This is a very important verse. Devar Shibhutam Trinam Pitranam Nakinkaro Nevrinicharajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanam Gatomukundam Pariharti Kartum. What is the translation? Somebody else can read.
Anyone who has the completely surrendered into Krishna,
Mukunda. Specs. Next time if you're coming to the class, come with your specs. That will be part of the class specs. You read already, no? Give it to somebody behind. You read rather than give it.
anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna,
Mukunda.
giving up all other duties, is no longer a debater.
Debtor.
Nor is he obliged to accord, nor to enforce
There's some feedback coming probably because you're holding it against the speaker, that's why. So all the disturbance came. So the scripture says here in Bhagavatam 11th canto that all of us, hum sab ke liye, there are obligations. There are obligations to our forefathers, Pitraran, obligations to the demigods, Devaran, obligations to the Rishis, because they have given us so much knowledge. Obligations to family, obligations to country. All these obligations are nullified one stroke when you take shelter of Mukunda. Mukunda means one who gives liberation, which is Krishna. Mukti Pradata, Mukunda. So we say that Nar Seva, Narayan Seva, Jana Seva, Janardhan Seva, Manav Seva, Madhava Seva. Absolutely correct. Madhava Seva, Manava Seva. If you serve Madhava, by default, all his parts and parcels, Manavas are served. If you serve Narayana, all his parts and parcels, Naras are served. We should have that understanding. The Bhagavatam says, as you water a tree, will you water in the roots or in the leaves? Why? You should put on each leaf, no? Only then will the leaves become happy. When you eat, does your hand eat a laddu, right hand eat a laddu, left hand eat a laddu, nose eat a laddu, ear eat a laddu, or the laddu goes to the stomach? Tell me, why? Each part and parcel should get a laddu, no? Why are you putting it in the stomach? Similarly, you don't have to separately try and please society, nation, family, or self. If you try sincerely to please the Supreme Lord, everybody will be pleased. You do your duties, there's nothing wrong. But that doesn't mean that we say that this is the only duty. Even animals take care of their family. Even ants and bees take care of society. Even lions take care of the jungle country. So what is the big achievement you are doing by taking care of all this? That you should do anyway. That is a necessary condition. But it is not a sufficient condition. The sufficient condition is if you take care of the needs of the soul. and serving the Supreme Soul. The Bible says that what profiteth a man who's gained the world but who's lost his soul? What is the use? So we'll close on that note. So you can keep a note, Pitambar. We'll continue from verse number 39 next time. Who all will remember next week which verse? Okay, let's put it this way. You take Mataji's name and details. It's your job to remember. Right? You're a teacher, so you will remember. So don't become cheater. You should be a teacher. She comes every Saturday, she comes. If she doesn't, you have to tell him. Take her details and so our Dinasudama Prabhu is left over. So this is our Pitambardar Prabhu. Pitambardar Prabhu will now be coordinating for this Sunday English class also. So he will be there and we will gradually make this class a little bit more active and engaging, give you people some reading homework, etc. Should I give you today itself reading homework? Huh? Gita hai ki nahi? Otherwise you can go to vedabase.com. I'll tell you the verses to read so we can quickly jump. So you read from verse number 39 to 46 and come. We will start with a very important verse of Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyeva Adhikaraste, next week. So you read from verse number 39 to 46 and come. And if you have any doubts, I'll give you 5 minutes in the beginning. You should ask the doubts. Second question, would all of you be open to 5 minutes of japa meditation next week? Yes or no? So we'll do that also. So we can plan it accordingly. Okay. So those of you who are not registered, please register yourself. Mataji, you can just ensure that both of them, they're wonderful people. One is a hardcore corporate and his wife is a hardcore teacher, principal. So they will help you. Please register yourself and there will be also prasadam for everyone at the end of the program. You make some announcements. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I would request all the people who are sitting, all the devotees who are sitting here, to please raise your 2 hands if they are operating. And say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram. Hare Hare. I would like to thank His Grace Shima Prabhu and Prabhu travels all the way from District Kailash to give a session to all of us. And sometimes we don't know how senior a person is with us. So Prabhuji is a very senior person in both the worlds. He has been a leading corporate person in his life before joining the temple. And Prabhuji is still in the leadership positions. He is the temple vice president there. He is also a member of the NIDC, ISKCON. And Prabhuji is also deeply involved in the other ministries of ISKCON. So Prabhuji has multiple spiritual administrative responsibilities to take care of. So it's our real spiritual privilege and pleasure that Prabhuji takes out his time from his schedule to visit us and to talk to us. So all those who are not yet registered for this course, the desk is right there on the gate. Please don't leave without registering. You just say that to the police.
Quickly close the door, close the door.
Mate, close the door. Prabhuji is suggesting close the door. So even that's important. That the point is that we should register for the course and the registration desk is right behind you, so that we can have a quick understanding of the interested lot. Otherwise, it's not about money. It's about having the people who are interested, who are really genuine seekers of spiritual knowledge. For that purposes, it's a humble request. You can go ahead. And I think the Prasadam is very downstairs. If anyone has any questions to talk, we can go to those.
Yeah, because it's late, we can ask questions separately.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and have prasadam.
And the rest of you can go downstairs for Prasadam. And if anyone is interested to talk to me also, they can talk to me. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhu, I have one question. So, we say say one loka, yam loka or third loka. Let's say it goes to yam loka, and it's mentioned like based on your karma it will be torture. So what is torture? Because soul can't be tortured. Does it
It's a yatana sharira.
Okay, so it gets
It's a
another.
yatana sharira. Specifically, it undergoes the suffering when it's poured into the consciousness.
Okay.
And